It all began on a chilly Saturday morning when Evelyn Grant, one of the city's most powerful CEOs, found herself sitting quietly on a worn-out park bench, watching her little girl play alone in the sand. She never expected that a single father and a bucket of toy blocks would change everything. Evelyn wasn't used to feeling powerless. In glass towers and boardrooms, she commanded hundreds with confidence, but at home, with 6-year-old Emma, her strength melted into helplessness. Emma had been silent for 2 years, ever since that rainy night when a car accident took her father's life. She hadn't spoken a single word since. Therapists had tried, specialists had tried, even Evelyn had tried everything money could buy. Nothing worked. Now, here they were at a small neighborhood playground on the outskirts of the city, far from her usual world of designer suits and marble floors. Evelyn sat in her casual jeans and coat, looking strangely out of place among the rusted swings and squealing children. Emma sat by herself under a tree, clutching her stuffed bunny, her father's last gift. Evelyn's heart broke every time she saw her daughter that way, quiet, withdrawn, her bright eyes dulled by memories she couldn't erase. She whispered, "Maybe today will be different, sweetheart." But Emma only looked down, tracing lines in the dirt with her fingers. Then came a sound of laughter, not Emma's, but that of a little boy, about Emma's age. He was building a crooked sandcastle, his clothes messy, his smile bright. Beside him knelt a man, perhaps mid-30s, in a faded denim jacket and a warm, patient smile. He helped his son fix the castle walls, then handed him a toy truck with a gentle, "Good job, buddy." Evelyn noticed him, Daniel Reed, a single dad, as she'd later learn, and a former schoolteacher turned part-time carpenter. There was something grounded about him, the kind of calm that came from knowing life could break you, but you could still build something beautiful. When Daniel's son, Noah, noticed Emma, he waved enthusiastically. "Hey, want to help us build the biggest castle ever?" he called. Emma froze. She looked at her mom, unsure. Evelyn smiled nervously, mouthing, "It's okay, sweetie." But Emma didn't move. Daniel noticed the hesitation. Instead of pushing, he softly said, "That's all right. We could use a castle inspector, too. Every builder needs one." He winked at Emma. Something in his tone, gentle, unhurried, made her blink and glance up again. For a long minute, Evelyn held her breath. Then, to her shock, Emma took a hesitant step forward, and another. She knelt beside Noah and started helping him pat the sand. Her tiny hands trembled at first, but Daniel encouraged her with simple words. "Perfect wall. You're really good at this," he said warmly. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. She didn't expect. No doctor had ever managed to reach her daughter like that, and yet this stranger, with his worn-out jacket and kind smile, had made her come alive again. Then it happened. Emma laughed, a small, choke sound at first, then real laughter, and when Noah accidentally crushed part of the castle, Emma whispered, almost inaudibly, "Fix it." Evelyn froze. Her breath caught. That was Emma's first word in 2 years. She covered her mouth, tears streaming as Daniel looked up, realizing the weight of what just happened. Their eyes met his, soft and understanding. Hers, filled with disbelief and gratitude. No wealth, no therapy, no power had achieved what one man's kindness just did. Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours researching and crafting this story to bring you something truly meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart, and you want to see more acts of kindness that restore faith in humanity, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means the world to me and helps these important stories reach others who need to hear them. Now, let's see what happens next. Have you ever witnessed an act of kindness that completely changed your perspective? Share your story in the comments below. The air around that little playground seemed to stand still. Evelyn sat frozen on the bench, her heart pounding, as the sound of her daughter's voice, that one precious word, echoed in her ears. Fix it. It was small, fragile, but it was real. Daniel noticed Evelyn's trembling hands, her tearful smile, and instinctively approached. "Is she okay?" he asked softly, careful not to frighten the little girl. Evelyn nodded, voice cracking. You don't understand. She hasn't spoken in 2 years. Daniel's eyes widened slightly, then softened with empathy. Well, he said gently, it seems she just needed the right castle to talk about. He grinned, not out of pride, but quiet warmth. Emma stayed near Noah, still stacking sand, her lips twitching into the faintest of smiles. Daniel crouched beside them and whispered, "Hey, Emma, this tower's looking wobbly. What do you think we should do?" Emma looked at him, then pointed to the bouquet with a small gesture, but deliberate. Daniel followed her lead as if she were the project manager. "Good call," he said. "You've got an eye for architecture." From her seat, Evelyn couldn't look away. For the first time in years, her daughter wasn't hiding. She was engaged, communicating without fear. When the castle was finished, Noah jumped up proudly. "We did it," he shouted. Emma clapped quietly beside him. Daniel dusted his hands off and turned to Evelyn. "I'm Daniel, by the way. That's my son, Noah. We come here most weekends. You both should join us sometime. These two make a great team." Evelyn hesitated. She wasn't used to people inviting her without wanting something in return. But Daniel's eyes carried no expectationally kindness. I'd like that," she finally said. "I'm Evelyn, and this little one is Emma." As they walked to their cars, Daniel offered to carry Emma's forgotten toy bunny. "He looks like he's been through a lot," he said with a gentle chuckle. Evelyn smiled faintly. "Yes, so has she." That night, as she tucked Emma into bed, Evelyn whispered, "You spoke today, sweetheart. You spoke." Emma looked up, held her mother's hand, and for the first time in years smiled. And across town, Daniel whispered to Noah, "See, buddy, sometimes helping someone smile is the best kind of magic." What would you do if you discovered someone with incredible strength or talent hidden beneath quiet pain? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. The following weekend, Evelyn found herself driving back to that same small playground. She told herself it was just to get Emma some sun, but deep down, she knew the truth. She wanted to see Daniel and Noah again. Emma, clutching her worn bunny, seemed almost eager to. Her eyes scanned the sandbox before they even parked, and when she saw Noah waving from the slide, her little feet carried her forward before Evelyn could even unbuckle her seatbelt. Daniel smiled as Evelyn approached. "I was starting to think you two were city legends," he joked, brushing the sand off his jeans. Evelyn laughed. "Genuinely, this time, we don't usually repeat playground visits," she admitted. "Schedules, meetings, you know how it is." Daniel nodded. "Yeah, life can be loud. Sometimes too loud to hear what really matters." Over the next hour, the laughter of two children filled the air, one bold, one rediscovering her voice through giggles and play. Daniel noticed how Emma responded to rhythm and music, so he began softly drumming on a plastic bucket, encouraging her to clap along. To Evelyn's astonishment, Emma did, not just clapping, but humming softly between beats. It was the first sound of joy Evelyn had heard from her in years. When they sat on the park bench later, Daniel shared a piece of his story. "I used to be a teacher," he said. "Taught kids with all kinds of challenges, autism, selective mutism, trauma. My son," he paused, looking at Noah chasing butterflies, "lost his mom last year. We're both learning how to start again." Evelyn's heart softened. She'd spent so long behind corporate walls, building success out of solitude. But this man, this humble father, carried quiet strength that couldn't be bought or taught. Over the next few weeks, they met often, sometimes by coincidence, sometimes by choice. Daniel taught Emma gentle word games. Evelyn brought homemade lunches and stories from her boardroom battles that made them all laugh. But not everyone saw their friendship kindly. A business associate spotted Evelyn one afternoon sitting in the park, her designer heels off, sharing ice cream with a struggling single dad. By Monday morning, whispers spread through her office. The CEO's losing focus. Evelyn could handle judgment. She always had. But this time, the stakes felt higher. Because now, it wasn't just her reputation on the line. It was the first fragile joy her daughter had found. The rumors at the office grew louder. Evelyn's board questioned her focus. "You're the face of this company," one senior partner warned. "You can't be seen spending time in parks with ordinary people." She smiled politely, but her chest burned with quiet defiance. Because those ordinary people had done what her millions couldn't. They brought her daughter back to life. That weekend, despite her exhaustion, Evelyn took Emma to Daniel's home, a cozy, sunlit cottage with a small garden and chalk drawings on the pavement. Emma ran straight to Noah, laughing freely, her voice a soft melody that still startled her mother every time she heard it. Daniel was teaching the kids how to plant herbs. "Sometimes," he said as he pressed soil around a seedling, "growth takes darkness first, before the light reaches it." Evelyn smiled, realizing he wasn't just talking about plants. The weeks that followed became transformative. Emma began speaking in short phrases: mama, play, happy. Each word was a miracle that left Evelyn quietly in tears. But just as everything seemed to bloom, the obstacle hit hard. Daniel received an offer to return to teaching across the state. It was a chance to rebuild his career and provide more for Noah. Yet leaving would break the fragile progress Emma had made. When Evelyn heard, her heart sank. She wanted to ask him to stay, but she also knew she couldn't stand in the way of his future. That night, she sat beside Emma's bed, watching her sleep. Then, softly, Emma whispered in her drowsy voice, "Don't be sad, Mama," Mr. Daniel said. Kind hearts always find their way back. Tears streamed down Evelyn's face. The child, who hadn't spoken in 2 years, now comforted her. A week later, Evelyn made a decision. She called Daniel and offered him something bold to head a new children's foundation under her company's name, focusing on trauma recovery and emotional learning. "You once said kids need safe spaces," she told him. "Let's build one together." Daniel hesitated, then smiled. "You're serious?" "Completely," she replied. "Kindness deserves structure and the budget." The two families began a new chapter, not bound by charity, but by purpose. Evelyn found meaning beyond profits. Daniel found a second chance at teaching, and Emma, she found her voice again and never stopped using it. 2 years later, the playground that once witnessed a miracle had changed. It was now part of the Grandtree Children's Foundation, a vibrant community space filled with laughter, color, and hope. Every Saturday, children from across the city gathered there to play, to heal, and to be seen. On that bright morning, Daniel knelt beside a little boy struggling to tie his shoes. "There's no rush," he said gently. "You'll get it." It was the same patient tone he'd once used with Emma. And there she was, now 8 years old, chasing Noah through the grass, her laughter ringing freely in the air. No longer the silent, frightened child she once was, but a confident girl who ran storytelling sessions for other kids. She had found her voice and used it to help others find theirs. Evelyn watched from a distance, her heart full. Her once cold, lonely life now pulsed with warmth. She had stepped down as CEO and dedicated herself fully to the foundation. Her legacy now measured not in profits, but in lives touched. During the foundation's anniversary event, she stood on stage, looking at Daniel and the children before her. Her voice trembled, but her words carried the power of truth. "I once believed success was about control, about conquering, but kindness, real kindness, requires surrender. It's about letting love lead you to what truly matters." The crowd erupted in applause. Daniel smiled proudly, knowing she'd found her peace. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low and the children began to leave, Emma tugged at Daniel's sleeve and whispered, "Thank you for making me talk." Daniel crouched to her level, smiling. "You did that all on your own, kiddo. I just listened." And that's how it always began, with listening. With one simple act of kindness from a single father to a broken-hearted child, and from a mother who refused to stop believing in miracles. Their story wasn't about wealth or power, but about grace, healing, and the beauty of second chances. Because sometimes, the smallest voice can echo the loudest message. Love heals, always. Stories like this remind us that extraordinary kindness exists all around us. If this touched your heart, please like this video. It helps more people discover these inspiring stories. Subscribe for more true tales of compassion that will restore your faith in humanity. And most importantly, take this story as a gentle reminder. You have the power to change someone's entire world with one small act of kindness. What act of kindness will you perform this week? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, kindness doesn't cost much, but it changes everything.